Why does fantasy suck all of a sudden? I mean, like, everything has to be some immature, two dimensional nonsense. I mean, we know why it sucks. We know why it sucks. For the same reason that Marvel sucks. For the same reason that TV sucks. It sucks because the people who have the loudest voices are the most opinionated and weak and childlike people. I mean, we saw the Hugo Awards have the largest amount of no award. Um, when they just can't pick a winner ever in their history last year, because these people who get to vote didn't want to vote for people who had opposing views to them. I mean, think about that for a second. These people, these children, these mental children, couldn't stand the fact that someone disagreed with them. Probably not even violently or in any major way, but they had to actively make it so that this person couldn't be recognized for their work, and the people that they were possibly going up against, who might also have been worthwhile, they all had to suffer because the idea of someone that you disagree with winning at something is so abhorrent to you. Even if they're talented, even if they've worked harder than anyone else, nobody can win. And that's reprehensible. I mean, there are writers I respect for their work ethic or their success who I dislike. J.K. Rowling's one of them. But I respect what she's done. I don't think she's a talented writer. I don't think she plans her stories. I think she just sees what happens. But, she taught a generation of English kids, and possibly even internationally, she taught them how to read. My brother was heavily dyslexic. He would never have hit the school that we went to, basically gave up on him. But if it weren't for Harry Potter, he would never have learnt to read. He learnt to read because Harry Potter was his escapism. That was his escape from lackluster teaching. I I wouldn't stop her from getting an award. I mean, she would win a popularity contest by a large margin. She shouldn't win a writing contest, but she should definitely win a popularity contest. And that's sort of what the Hugo Awards are. It's whether or not people like you. You are the most liked thing. It's not the Gemmell Award. The Gemmell Award is, critics pick. I know a guy who actually lost out on a Gemmell Award. Very good writer. But, I can understand why someone would pick the guy who did beat him, Brian McClellan, who has a great series of books out. I can understand why they picked him, why they picked Brian instead of my guy David. And there are numerous reasons for that. I mean, David was writing someone else's characters for a gaming company, and he did a great job. I think he's probably his contribution to that series is probably the best one. And it's 20 years or more than 20 years of books, and he added three novels and shorts and more short stories, etc. And they got a lot of recognition. But that's critics. The guy Brian, his story was original. It was all his. Doesn't he owns all of it. So I can see why. I think critically, I think that would get more props. But that's not a popularity contest. I mean, you could argue that it is, but it's not. It's critics. The Hugo Awards, however, is a popularity contest, and they are, fans get to vote. They get to say everything, and so when you stop someone from getting something just because you disagree with them, that's not good. That's that is actually bad. I mean, you're not paying any money. You're not voting with your wallet, as it were. You're not taking action by boycotting something. You're actively taking away or stopping something that might even go to someone you like. You just don't know it yet because you're a bad person. I mean, that's the truth. You are taking something from someone you don't know based on something you think. I mean, you don't know for certain that this person's a racist or a sexist, but you say they are, and it's ridiculous. Especially in fantasy and sci-fi, where you're meant to be able to talk about difficult things. You're meant to be able to question God, the nature of the universe, and the necessities of good and evil, or the dichotomy of good and evil, whether or not there's grey areas. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that people have been talking, it's the stuff that really sci-fi and fantasy are built for. Take Star Wars. I mean, the reason the prequels sucked isn't because they were poorly written, poorly acted, the special effects were poor, and a whole host of other reasons that critics actually complain about. They were bad because they never questioned right from wrong. I mean, we never felt empathy with Anakin's decisions. But that's what you're meant to be able to do. So, in Terminator, for instance, Terminator 2 especially, they're doing a bad thing. They're trying to kill a guy who designed Skynet in the hope that they're doing something right. In the hope that it's going to change the future for the better. And of course, it barely does anything. All it really does is delay the coming of the machines. But that's a question, that's a dilemma that really belongs in sci-fi and fantasy. And I mean, it's also talking about dilemma, that's the success of the Witcher series. You get offered actual dilemmas and your decision matters. Spoiler alert for Witcher 3. If you don't send Kira Metz to... You have, I think 3 or 4 options with Kira Metz. You can kill her. You can give her the plans and let her escape. You can not give her the plans and let her escape. And you can send her to Kaer Morhen, the Witcher's fortress. If you kill her, she dies. If you let her go without the plans, she dies. She gets burnt. She gets impaled on a stake, actually, publicly. I can't remember what happens if you let her go with the plans, but she either gets given she either gets given clemency in the Empire, or I don't know, I don't care. Or if you send her to Kaer Morhen, she helps you out later in the game. Those are, I mean, when you actually see Kira Metz impaled on a stake, that is fucking gruesome. That is, when you see Kira Metz impaled on a stake, that is gruesome. That is not nice. It's graphic. And that's a dilemma. And so for these people who don't like these sorts of things, who don't like, on a very shallow level, on a very silly level, they don't like people with opposing views. How can they read fantasy books, which the Hugo Award is a fantasy award? How can these people like fantasy when they clearly can't even stomach the possibility of an alternative opinion existing? So how can they read books where people are tortured, where wars break out, where there's starvation, where people are screwed over on a daily basis, which happens in pretty much every sci-fi or fantasy book? I mean, there's always a sleazy scene, So why are they reading these genres where alternatives are meant to exist? I mean, they're meant to be explored. I just don't understand how this mindset was even able to grow in this genre, and fans of this genre. And really, they don't belong here. I mean, I'm an avid sci-fi reader. I'm an avid fantasy reader. You know, they are my favorite genres because they allow me to, you know, to really explore different elements of society, whether it's a dystopic future. You know, it doesn't matter how deep it is as long as it really shows you something different. And these people are clearly, well, they're social justice warriors, which by definition these days means that they're fascist. And the fact that they would rather nobody win than someone they disagree with win kind of explains everything. So if you like this video, you know, like and subscribe. I'll probably upload another one tomorrow. I think I'm going to try and do a daily thing. See you then.